All right, so we've got some more interesting Jimmy Dore clips to be looking at here, and we're going to get at something that seems to be an underlying issue that's going to probably end up coming to the surface now that the 2020 primary is about to happen, and a bunch of people have already announced their candidacies, including Tulsi Gabbard, who he is a very big fan of. And this is a little bit odd and a little bit concerning. A comment that he made on on his most recent live stream that he did. So he's a big supporter of Tulsi Gabbard. He had her on his show. I'm a supporter of Tulsi Gabbard as well. And Jimmy Dore has struggled to really respond to any of the criticisms, the legitimate ones, not the fake ones of, oh, she's an Assad toady or whatever dumb shit like that, but actual ones, where he, responded by saying, why should I give a shit about people in India, and then quickly apologized, or at the end of the stream apologized because of how stupid that comment was. But he's going to say here that his first pick for president is not Bernie Sanders, but rather Tulsi Gabbard.
So El Bernath wants to know, Kyle says if Bernie runs, he has his vote. Do you agree?
Do I agree that Bernie has my vote if he decides to run?
Yeah.
My first choice is Tulsi Gabbard. My second choice is Bernie Sanders. I would love a Tulsi-Bernie ticket.
That would be
yeah. So Tulsi,
amazing.
And the reason why is that Tulsi has shown more courage to stand up to the establishment than I've seen out of Bernie, especially when it comes to foreign policy.
So I had actually polled you guys on this question on the community tab, and about over 80%, I believe it was, somewhere around there, about 80%, 80 or higher percent, said that you guys prefer Bernie Sanders as your candidate for president. Or I think the question was just straight up, who would you rather have as your president? And it's pretty crazy as to how could you come to the conclusion of supporting Tulsi Gabbard over Bernie Sanders? I really don't understand that one. It doesn't seem possible in any sort of legitimate realm. So, and we're gonna kind of get to what the reason is. But dude, how can you have such a lack of respect for the absolute OG that is Bernie Sanders? Okay, Bernie Sanders and his rationale is that he hasn't stood up to the establishment. You doofus. He spent his entire career standing up to the establishment, and he's paved the way for Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard is an offshoot of Bernie Sanders. Without Bernie Sanders, Tulsi Gabbard is not in the same position that she is today. Who knows what her position is right now? Jimmy Dore might not even know about Tulsi Gabbard if Bernie Sanders wasn't, in existence at the time. But the just sheer lack of respect for the man who paved the way. AOC certainly doesn't exist without Bernie Sanders. Remember, she was influenced by his campaign. She was, I believe, a volunteer for his campaign. And she was motivated to run because of Bernie Sanders' campaign. This entire movement that has spawned would not exist without Bernie Sanders. And it is truly remarkable to see the lack of respect for Bernie Sanders, who was the one who set all of this up to be possible. He's the one who made all of this possible. He's the one who set everything up for people like Tulsi Gabbard. Now, Tulsi Gabbard is a good candidate, but she does have some issues. So those issues include, and her past on the whole, the gay marriage issue. She has came out and apologized in what I thought was a sincere apology, and she provided an explanation, so that's fine. But there are issues with her ties to Narendra Modi, and she even has some outstanding, some weird comments when it comes to even, wars, because she's made a comment to The Intercept, I believe it was a couple years ago, saying that I'm a dove when it comes to, non-necessary wars like that are just, ridiculous and unnecessary. But I'm a hawk on ones against terrorists. So I'm curious where Tulsi draws the line as to which intervention she's with and which one she's against, because she's for drone strikes. So she's down with all of that kind of stuff. And I'm still iffy about, which ones are you for? Because based on that comment, I don't know which ones you're for and which ones you're against. But another thing here is that her main thrust in terms of her campaign is foreign policy now. She does talk about economic issues, no doubt. But there's also no doubt that the main thrust and the uniqueness of her campaign is foreign policy. And I'm not a fan of the main thrust of your campaign being foreign policy, because the most important thing is domestic policy, and most importantly, the economy. And I'm not. I think that she should be more outspoken, in a consistent manner on the campaign trail, focusing more on economic issues as well, because she's talking a lot about foreign policy. We see her on Morning Joe talking about foreign policy, and on her social media and stuff. And on her social media, she does talk about economic issues. Don't get it twisted, and that's what makes her a good candidate. But it's not. Don't make the mistake. Tulsi Gabbard is no Bernie Sanders. Tulsi Gabbard doesn't do what Tulsi Gabbard did without Bernie Sanders. Who knows what Tulsi Gabbard is like today? Who knows if Jimmy Dore even knows who Tulsi Gabbard is without Bernie Sanders? So the just massive lack of respect, and just the massive amounts of disrespect to the OG Bernie Sanders, who paved the way for all of this shit, to me, it's disgusting. And oh yeah, Tulsi Bernie ticket. My understanding of that insinuation is Tulsi's the president and Bernie Sanders is the VP. What the fuck? Are you fucking kidding me? What kind of a setup is that? Bernie's the dude with a shit ton of experience, and Tulsi has experience too, but what kind of demented rationale would you come up with to have Tulsi as president and Bernie Sanders as VP? How the fuck would that even work? I don't even understand. Bernie was he's the one with more experience. He's the one with a better record, by the way. His record is unmatched amongst any candidate in existence currently. And Tulsi's record is not good because her old stuff is really bad. Now, again, like I said earlier, she's apologized for a bunch of that stuff, which is good. But Tulsi Gabbard is no Bernie Sanders. So we're actually going to get to... and by the way, one quick thing I want to say is if you look at her platform, she says that we need to have everyone with Medicare or a public option. Now, she supports universal health care. I don't like that wording of public option. I think that should be out. I think she should change that to just straight up saying, I only support Medicare for all, that's it. And that's a little bit concerning to me. But overall, it seems to be good. But we're going to get to the real reason as to why Jimmy Dore doesn't like Bernie Sanders anymore. Now, he's also going to say here that he refuses to donate to Bernie's campaign because the DNC might cheat him. And I'm curious if he's going to apply that same logic to Tulsi Gabbard and not donate to her despite his support for her. I don't think so. But check out this compounding of clips and you'll see what you will see what I mean.
Johnson
joining late, but everyone is telling us to donate to Bernie's potential 2020 campaign. But how do we know the DNC won't cheat?
You don't.
You don't.
You don't. That's the thing. I keep getting these things to... I'm not fucking donating.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it. I'm not donating. Nope.
Sorry.
I can't do it.
co-
There's no progressive takeover of the Democratic Party. Do you need any... What the F? And when Bernie said he was calling for a revolution, he wasn't being truthful. That was just a gimmick. He's not being truthful. He won't come on this show and talk about it. Bernie won't even come on the show. He'll do any interview with anybody if you said you voted for Hillary. But if you didn't, Bernie won't come near you. That's the opposite of political courage. You know, when he went from filling stadiums, when he decided to back Hillary Clinton, he couldn't fill a gymnasium after that. That's a fact. What do these people think they're doing? And to reform the Democratic Party, that's called incrementalism. We don't have time for incrementalism. Bernie Sanders started every speech in 2016 by saying, sounds like you're ready for a revolution. Mm-hmm. And then he turns around and starts sheepdogging people into the Democratic Party, which does stuff like this. So when he said, are you ready for a revolution, it doesn't sound that it was intellectually honest. It sounded like that was just a line now to get a rise out of people at a rally. Because now he's sheepdogging people into a party that's cheating progressives at every turn. They're cheating. They just smeared and slimed Cynthia Nixon. We can go over it and how many times the person Jaffe who ran against Pelosi, they screwed him over. They're screwing people over in Texas. Everywhere. The party is not letting this happen. Even Bernie Sanders, right? We've been trying to get Bernie Sanders on the show. And, his campaign, his guests got their head up their ass. And they can't wait to go on Chris Hayes and Rachel Maddow, who shit on them every frickin' time. But someone who actually supports them is going to help to get their message out. They shun them. I hope you effing lose again. No. Right? Bernie's advisors are 60-year-old frickin' white guys who are in a bubble. Look how long it took them to get here. They let the Democratic National Committee completely rig the system, and they didn't blow a fire alarm. And they're still not talking about it, and the system's still rigged, and you're doing jack about it.
Yeah, so of course, not donating to Bernie's campaign is super lame. You are a lame-ass motherfucker if that's what you're going to do. The day that dude announces I'm donating $27 to his campaign, the very day he announces. So that was depressingly disappointing from Jimmy Dore. But as you guys saw from the videos I just showed you, it's very clear that Jimmy Dore is butthurt. Really just third degree ass burns, first degree ass burns from being so butthurt that he won't come on his show. And it's just fucked up because I don't want to say shit like that, but there's no other conclusion to come to because there's no other rationale as to why you would be so salty, so massively salty about Bernie Sanders. Like, where is all this hatred coming from? And I think he made a recent video saying that, why did Bernie, bail on Tim Canova and election reform or something like that. He really has a burn mark and a fucking ass burn mark from Bernie not coming on his show. And honestly, I kind of get why Bernie doesn't come on his show, dude. I mean, we've looked at the crazy clips of Jimmy Dore. I mean, he said crazy shit, like the most crazy shit you'll ever hear. Whether it be being concerned about fluoride in the water because of, governments, not trusting the government's intentions, or, whether it be all the other conspiracies that he said, or all this crazy type of shit. And so I get that. But that's not cool, Jimmy. You shouldn't have your opinion on someone convoluted, or not convoluted, sort of polluted and changed because they won't come on your fucking show, dude. So, come on, bro. You can't allow your judgment on somebody to be dictated by that. And that's obviously the reason here. Let's keep it real. Because otherwise, why would you have such a hate boner for Bernie Sanders? To where me, the day he announces, I'm going to be extremely excited. I can't wait to vote for him in California. The day he announces, I'm going to donate $27 to his campaign. And I just cannot wait till the day he announces. And by the way, there's a report that he's recorded his announcement video. So it's in the works, man. Why do you dislike him so much? Bernie Sanders has paved the way for what the progressive movement is today. He is the OG. He is the godfather of this entire fucking movement. Tulsi Gabbard is not Tulsi Gabbard that we know today without Bernie Sanders, because she would never have made a progressive solidifying stance and, ditching the DNC and saying, fuck you, I'm going to endorse Bernie Sanders. She would still have, whatever, record she had before, where she was going on Fox News to berate Obama about the Iran deal. It's just, you don't have Tulsi Gabbard the way that she is today. You don't have AOC. AOC doesn't exist. Everything that you have in today's progressive movement exists because of Bernie Sanders. And the fact that you can just, push him away and just kind of like push him to the side like that, fuck you, man. You know what? Fuck you for that, dude. That's disrespectful. That's not cool. And it's a bitch move, especially when you find out that the real reason why you're doing that is because he won't come on your show. That is extremely, extremely embarrassing.